morning, participants.
will now be recorded.
This is
Good
Dr.
morning. Good
Jibone.
morning.
Uh, uh, Dear participants, kindly mute your microphone, right? So, I am Dr. Jiboneshwari, working as a professor and heading the Department of Computer Science and Engineering in Loyola Institute of Technology, Chennai. It's my pleasure to welcome you all for this webinar on Network Virtualization for IoT, organized by Department of CSE and IT. It's my privilege to welcome and introduce our resource person, Ms. Abhirami Sivasubramanian. I am very proud to say she is a young entrepreneur, founder and managing director of Abhi Consulting Limited in United Kingdom. She provides software consulting and development services for the clients in various domains such as and Start Edge solutions and rail technology for medium and enterprise level businesses across United Kingdom. She has 12 years of experience in networking, embedded and real-time software development in C, C++, Boost and Python on Linux and Unix environment. She worked on various companies across the world like Arisen Technologies India, Huawei Technologies India, eBay, Nokia, and Immerset Global Limited London. She visited various countries like China, Bulgaria while working. I am very happy to welcome you, ma'am, for this webinar. And thanks for accepting our request during your tight schedule. And even though this time is not comfortable to you, I know that since your time is around 5:30 to 6 o'clock. So I am once again I give a thank to you, sir, ma'am, for accepting our request. So before starting the session, I want to give some instructions to the participants. Please turn off your video and mute your microphone during the session. Post your questions only in the chat box that will be answered by resource person at the end of the session. Feedback link will be posted in chat box at the end of the session. You can fill it and send it to receive your e-certificate immediately. So on behalf of Loyola Institute of Technology, Chennai and Department of CAC and IT, I once again welcome you all for this webinar. I hope this webinar will be definitely informative and helpful to you. Thank you. Now I hand over the session to our resource person, Ms. Abhirami Sivasubramanian. Ma'am, session is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Bhuvaneshwari, for the warm welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
I hope everyone is doing good and staying safe during this lockdown. So without wasting much time, I will start with the topic, network virtualization for IoT. So I want to make this webinar mostly based on my industrial experience. I want to give more information on how industries adapt to this network virtualization and how IoT devices are used in the industry. So let me first start with Internet of Things. So what is Internet of Things? The very basics. What is an IoT device? IoT device is a hardware with a sensor that transmits data from one device to another over the internet. One second. Sorry, got to minimize something. Okay, IoT device is a hardware with a sensor that transmits data from one device to another over the internet. So what differentiates it from the other devices? These IoT devices have some intelligence built inside them, like all the devices you use in your home appliances, like a bulb, a, a, a motion sensor, a camera, or a door. These devices, if they have some intelligence built inside, then that is called an IoT device. Types of IoT devices range from smart home appliances to commercial security systems and smart meters. They are also used for creating smart cities. So the very basic IoT device would start from the device which is present in your home. Like as I already gave an example, a smart bulb. So these devices can collect data and share them over the internet to the cloud or to any other device. Also, if the particular device has any fault in it, then it can communicate to the other devices for help and it can get assistance. So that differentiates this IoT device from a normal device without any intelligence in it. IoT is a network of smart devices connected to each other. So when these devices are connected to each other over a network, we call them Internet of Things. There are dozens of IoT protocols that are available, but there are few major IoT protocols that are mainly used in the industry. So we can see some of the major IoT protocols that are widely used. Z-Wave, Zigbee. So these Z-Wave and Zigbee protocols are are widely used in the European and market and also in US because the devices are very cheap. If the devices have Z-Wave and Zigbee in it, they come with a very affordable cost. So these are very popular here. They use the short frequency radio communication and wireless radio frequency communication protocol to communicate with each other. Wi-Fi. This, I need not to say, this is one of the wireless communication protocols that is used widely, and you have this Wi-Fi technology in your smartphones and modems, routers. Then cellular, it's again the wired network with the last link being the wireless that transmits signals. Again, you are all very familiar with the cellular network. LoRaWAN. LoRaWAN is something which is called low power wide area network. This LoRaWAN is mainly used for battery operated devices. Among IoT devices, there are few devices that are battery operated. For example, a smoke sensor, it has got battery in it, and a temperature and humidity sensor. These sensors have the temperature and humidity sensor. If you use it in your home, it is a kind of very small device that has battery in it, and it goes to sleep every few idle. So these devices will use the LoRaWAN protocol. Bluetooth. Bluetooth is again a wireless technology that uses short length radio waves to communicate with one another. MQTT. MQTT is another commonly used protocol. So this MQTT is Message Queuing Telemetry Transport Protocol. This is a lightweight protocol that is used to communicate between devices. It the publisher subscriber model. The MQTT, there will be an MQTT client and MQTT server. The protocol it follows a publisher subscriber model where the client can subscribe to the server for a specific topic. Say, for example, there is a sensor has client can subscribe to the server to send whenever a temperature sensor sends statistics to the server, the client can subscribe to the server saying that send me every time the sensor sends you a statistics information, forward it to me. The client can tell the server like that, and the server, whenever it receives a statistic information from
Anita,
the sensor, it forwards it
recruiting
to
is
the client.
starting.
So it's more detailed. It's not required. Just it's for your information. And NFC. NFC is Near Field Communication Protocol. NFC is mainly used for devices within 4 centimeters to communicate to each other. You may think like what can communicate within 4 centimeter? Like Wi-Fi is like I connect from one room to another, and it has a wide range. Even Bluetooth has a wide range. What can NFC be used for? But NFC has some real-time applications. Um, in Usually when you go to bus stops here, uh, you go to the bus stop and there is a smart display. In that display, there will be a barcode. If your mobile phone is NFC enabled, you bring your phone so close to that barcode, and you will be able to see uh, the bus stop information and the live information, and you can track the GPS data that communicates using NFC protocol. So there are a few other applications that will use NFC protocol. IoT device communication. So how the IoT devices communicate? As I said, the Internet of Things support dozens of different IoT protocols. IoT devices communicate with each other using different protocols. That is, same gate. There will be n number of IoT devices that can connect to the same gateway, but still they can use different protocols. One can use Wi-Fi, one can use Bluetooth, another one can use some other protocol, but still they should be able to communicate with each other. So we have to support interoperability. IoT devices collect data and send it to cloud for data analysis. Cloud management enables the mobile network operators to access their sensor data from anywhere in the world using an online portal. So say for example, you have IoT devices in your home, it collects the data, it sends the data to the cloud. So cloud is nothing but, imagine it is a server, it is like just like Google. It's so the data is in the cloud now. From an end user, I would expect I would expect that I should see the data that is collected from my sensor. So what the service provider will do is he will provide me an URL. So I can log in into the URL and I can see the data collected by my device. For example, if I have a motion sensor in my home and it is continuously detecting intrusions, and the intrusions are monitored, the images are collected and stored in a server, I am provided with a URL with which when I log in, I'll be able to see all the images collected from my motion sensor, which is in my home. So that is what is mentioned here. It enables the mobile network operators to access their sensor data because they are the one who is managing this cloud infrastructure. So they will be having access to my data and they will provide an URL with which I can view my data. So with cloud management, the operator can access data from anywhere with any devices and an internet connection. Edge devices. So we talk about cloud a lot. So everyone is aware of cloud now. What is the edge? So with this cloud technology and IoT devices in place, the IoT devices will send n number of data, dozens of data to the cloud. This also has some drawbacks. We are sending all the data to the cloud, which has some security risk. We are exposing all our data to the cloud. So in order to minimize the risk, what we can do is we can have some intelligent at the edge of the network. Edge of the network is edge device is a device which is connected to the end device at the edge of the network. So it can actually get the data from the IoT sensor and then process the data in-house in that location itself without sending it to another location. For example, I have a sensor in my home, I have an edge device inside my home, say for example a router. The router is connected to an edge device. The router, sorry, the router is connected to an edge device. Then the router gets the data from the sensor and process the data inside my home. So it is not going outside of my home network, and that has more security over sending the data to the internet. That's what a edge device is for. So it minimizes the risk of sending all the data to the cloud, and it lowers latency and increase efficiency. Of course, why? Because the sensor is inside my home, the edge device is inside my home, they are in the same network, so the latency of obviously will be lower and the efficiency will be greater, because it will be like when they are in the same network, it has to have more speed. The data speed will be more. So IoT gateway. IoT gateway enables communication between IoT devices and also between the cloud and the IoT device. So why did I tell about the edge device? Is because of this IoT gateway. This IoT gateway can act as an edge device. Why we need a gateway? Because IoT devices can have some amount of intelligence, but you cannot incorporate all the protocol in one IoT device. One IoT device will have one protocol supported on it. There needs to be a protocol converter or a device that will get data from this particular sensor, convert it into another protocol and send it to another device if they want to interoperate. So for this interoperability and and to send this data to the cloud infrastructure, this IoT gateway is used. So gateways can communicate on multiple protocols. Gateways can be a dedicated hardware or a software embedded in an intelligent device. This means that a gateway can be a router or or it's just one intelligent device where I just put the gateway software in it. Like any open source gateway software. In fact, you can search for IoT gateway software open source in the internet, and if there is a Raspberry Pi board or some intelligent device, then we can upload the software on that intelligent device and make it behave like a gateway. There are n number of softwares available in the internet if you want to experiment yourself. There are open source softwares available for Windows. There are open source softwares available for Linux, which you can download, install it, and experiment it. So this is the infrastructure I'm talking about. The gateway is the one which sits in the middle. You can see the end devices, the phone, which is connected using a wired connection. A wired connection always goes through the Ethernet port of the gateway. So this gateway device should be capable of supporting multiple protocols. It should have an Ethernet port. It should support Bluetooth. It should support wireless Wi-Fi connectivity. So when you select a gateway, which IoT devices can connect to it depends upon the hardware capabilities of that gateway. If that gateway should have the hardware capability to support a Z-Wave device or Zigbee device or Bluetooth device or a Wi-Fi device, the chipset should be present in that particular gateway, and on top of it, which the software will come. So here the phone is connected using a wired connection, the printer is connected using a wireless connection, Wi-Fi, the camera is connected using Bluetooth, and the motion sensor is connected using Wi-Fi. And the gateway will collect data from these devices and send it to the cloud. So this is cloud. What will happen if this gateway act as an edge? So in that case, some of the intelligence lies inside the gateway itself. For example, I connect my call. There is a person who's irritating with some random calls. I want to block him, so I put the access control filter in the gateway. So the intelligence goes in the gateway. The gateway will filter that particular number or that particular MAC address of the device, and it will not forward the traffic to the cloud. It will just drop the call or the equipment's MAC address inside the gateway itself, and the other traffic can be forwarded to the cloud. So this is one example of edge computing or edge device, what edge device can do. So whenever a customer needs some gateway, they will actually choose it to be edge or cloud depending upon their requirements, what they actually want to achieve. So with this gateway in place and IoT devices and cloud infrastructure in place, safe and effective device management is the key of sustained development. So we should choose the gateway depending upon the purpose and connectivity method. Now, why virtualization? Everything is going good. Gateway is there, cloud is there, IoT devices are there. Why do I need virtualization? So in IoT, number of devices are connected together. So obviously they are going to generate more amount of data. For example, a humidity sensor is going to generate data. For example, you have configured your temperature sensor to monitor and log temperature every 1 hour, or you say like if the temperature falls above 20, then record the temperature. Then it is going to record more frequently, which is going to generate more amount of data per day. Then consider it, if it is going to log in for a month or for a year, then the data is obviously very huge. So increase in IoT devices increases the network demand. So the network infrastructure requires an effective solution for management, resource sharing, and cost reduction. That is, if all the data needs to be shared to the internet, your internet speed should be more, and the router or modem that is connected to your end device should be scalable. It should be, today you will have 10 devices, tomorrow you will have 20 devices. So it should be scalable, and it should handle that many amount of devices. Legacy networks use separate hardware for delivering different services. Traditionally, before this virtualization came into picture, there were separate hardware for different services. There will be a hardware for signal processing. There will be a separate hardware for data collection. There will be a separate hardware for analytics. So these are three different hardwares that will process information. So this is expensive and the maintenance is also high. And also, whenever you want to scale the network, you want to go for another hardware, you want to purchase another hardware and you want to deploy it. That was not very easy, or something which can be done immediately or without consuming much time. Virtualization decouples the networking hardware and software. So what was done after in during virtualization is that the software dependency was decoupled, the hardware dependency was decoupled, and many of the network components were made virtualized, made as a software component, so that the network is scalable now. For example, routers, nowadays routers can be virtualized. A LAN, instead of LAN, there is a virtualized LAN which is available. So that is also a part of virtualization. So these these provide an effective solution for easy management and resource sharing. Also, it reduces the cost of the entire system. With virtualization, we can move the high-level costly functionalities to data center. Assume if there is no virtualization, then I have 10 devices to one gateway, another 10 devices to another gateway. So there are some services which are common to all the devices. So if there is no data center, the services have to be duplicated in each gateway. But if there is a data center is nothing but consider it as a server sitting in the cloud over the internet far away. So if there is a data center, then the common services which are duplicated in the gateways can be consolidated and they can be deployed in your data center, which is a server over the internet. And these devices can communicate to the server. So virtualization methods. There are different virtualization methods available, but I'm going to cover only the major virtualization method that are widely used in the industry. One is software-defined networking, another one is network function virtualization. These are the two main solutions that provide virtualization. And there is also a term called network virtualization. I just wanted to just provide a bit of information about it. I'm not going to cover in detail in the coming slides. I'm just going to cover only SDN and NFV. So SDN, software defined networking. It separates control plane from the data plane. What is a data plane? What is a control plane? So in any networking device, the data plane is the high-speed data path. When a packet comes, then there is a high-speed data path which will send the path which will decide how to forward the packet. So that is mainly based on the chipset vendor. They provide some APIs or registries to configure, like this package comes on this particular port, forward it to this port. So that will be provided by chipset vendor. So that is the data plane. What is the control plane? Control plane or the include the functions and network components which decide the routing, how the packet should be processed and forwarded. So these decisions are done in the control plane. Uh, and also other services like DHCP, DNS, these services come in the control plane. NV is network virtualization. Virtualization of network resources or pathways. This is like I'm not sure if you all have heard about overlay networks, L2 overlay networks, L3 overlay networks. So it is a kind of virtualizing those network resources. NFV is network function virtualization. SDN and NFV are may from the first view it may look similar, but they are not actually. But they can operate along with each other. Network function virtualization is virtualization of network services that used to run on dedicated hardware, like a switch, like a LAN. Virtualizing these are called network function virtualization. SDN, you can think of a platform which is provided for the NFV. Embedded virtualization. So what is embedded virtualization? What is an embedded device? Usually we call this modems or routers the edge devices, or maybe uh, but not necessarily embedded. It is not that all the edge devices are embedded. I'm not saying that, but there are some devices which are embedded. So embedded devices have some memory constraints, and they have limited space and resource constraints. So virtualization plays a major role in the embedded systems. So what is embedded virtualization? Embedded virtualization is consolidation of different systems into a single piece of hardware. It simplifies the complexity of end system. Let's take an example of the IoT gateway, what I have mentioned in the previous slides. So that simplifies the complexity of the IoT sensors. They can have different protocols, but still this embedded IoT gateway is going to provide interoperability between them. So the intelligence can need not to be overloaded in the end device. So it simplifies the complexity of the end system. It reduces capital expenses and operating expenses. CapEx and OpEx costs or the major concern for uh, any customer. So this embedded virtualization reduces them because your services are going to reside in a data center, and also this control plane, you can virtualize this control plane so that you need not to duplicate that on different embedded devices, which may consume a lot of memory, which increases the cost. Software defined main The main role of software defined networking is to centralize the network configuration and control of network devices. Centralize the network configuration is that, mm, for example, you want to take a simple example of providing an access control list. Access control list is nothing but whether I want to block certain equipments, block certain user, or I want to allow certain users or equipments. That is access control list. Who I want my or deny. That is the access control. So you can centralize this particular network configuration on a data center. From the data center, there will be a URL, and with that URL, I can provide the MAC address of the devices, only those MAC address of devices which I want to allow. If I want 10 participants on this meeting, then I can just provide the 10 devices MAC address on that particular URL. So only they will be allowed. So this network configuration, if it is centralized, it is easy for the ISP provider or the service provider to manage the network. Also, a firmware upgrade. Every device will have a firmware in it. Even the IoT devices is going to have a firmware. At one point, management of these devices is necessary for the provider. So if three vendors have provided three different devices, IoT devices, and they have different firmware on it. After a month, they detect a security risk in that particular device. So they put a patch, they fix it. They have a patch, and they give
Everything
patch
recorded on WhatsApp.
to the customers who bought that
One
device.
check with number.
The service provider Now the service provider can take that patch and apply that for the devices which has the security risk. So for this to be made simple, there should be a data center from which we can upload this firmware and trigger the firmware update for the devices that are connected. So this is achieved using software defined networking. Centralized policy and flow control. Policy and flow control is again the same. You want you may want certain traffic to flow through certain network. For example, you are connecting to a VPN. With this lockdown in place, many people are working from home, so there may be certain, usually in IT industries or even in other industries, there will be a VPN connection, which is your connection. So for VPN connection, the VPN will flow through a different gateway, and the rest of there will be a public Wi-Fi. There will be some, if you go to some restaurants, they will provide public Wi-Fi, like free Wi-Fi. You can access it. Not many sensitive data can be available to the users who are accessing to that particular public Wi-Fi. So there should be a policy in place at the device which I am connecting to allow or deny a specific user on a specific network. If I connect to public Wi-Fi, I can access only certain services. I can access Google, Yahoo, or the public domains. If I connect to a different network, say it is an office network, then I should be able to access the intranet, office intranet or college intranet. So these networks are segregated. For that, a policy should be in place, and that policy can be configured from a central a data center. This is again achieved using software defined network. Previously, these intelligence were all in the embedded device. Now with the software defined networking, these are brought to a central location. Ensures security by the application of security policies. So uh, with the advent of new technologies and IoT devices and more data going to the cloud, accessing everything to the cloud, there is high risk of security. Anyone will come try to tap the network and disturb the connectivity. So there is need for application of security policies, which is again achieved by the software defined networking. And also it simplifies network configuration. Previously, if you want to go for deployment, if you want to deploy n number of softwares, you have to go to each location. If there is a fault, you have to go to the premises, and some engineer has to go to the premises. They need to configure it, they need to update it and come back. And if there is any fault, there should be a person, support person, who needs to be sent to the location, and they have to fix it. But now with a software defined networking in place, it's no more required. All the information are available in the data center, and from the data center, the equipments or devices can be controlled. And even the equipments these days have the option of factory reset. If something goes wrong, and you have a factory reset method, which when you press it, it restores everything to the default. with minimal connectivity to the data center. They make sure that the connection to the data center is not lost. So the support person can sit on the other side of the cloud and manage your network or reconfigure your network. So it simplifies network configuration and it makes management easier. Network function virtualization. Network function virtualization virtualizes the network services. As I already said, they may look similar, but they are not. This network function virtualization can be implemented along with the software defined networking, because they virtualize the uh, for example, VXLAN, virtual bridges. So these things are achieved using network function virtualization. They reduce the cost of the network services. It's like you have an 8-port, say for example, you have an 8-port switch. Previously, we used to have an 8-port switch, and you have 8 systems connected to that switch. So all your 8 ports are occupied. And now that there is a new requirement to support 20 other devices, then you need to either buy a new switch which has enough number of ports to support that. So scalability was a bit time consuming and expensive. So now with this virtualization in place, the scalability can be easily achieved. There is some expenses associated with this virtualization also. It is not that because we introduced virtualization, all the capex and opex costs are suddenly going to reduce. It's not like that, but at least to some extent, it has made scalability easier. SD enabled gateway. So see the architecture for both the device and a gateway. Now we need to think about an enabled gateway. So what if we incorporate this SDN into the IoT gateway? Show this slide. End devices. The gateway is connecting to the cloud. So this is the normal IoT gateway without SDN. Now we see this SDN enabled gateway. You can see the data plane resides inside the gateway, and the control plane is separated from the data plane. So now the gateway will have the minimal functionality with the hardware in it. Only the high-speed data path will be there in the gateway, and the other services, the other intelligence comes to the control plane. And this control plane can reside in the cloud, or it can be in a dedicated server over the internet. And where will the IoT applications reside? So this IoT applications will interact with the control plane. So what will the IoT application do? For example, I have a temperature sensor connected to here, and it communicates with the IoT gateway. It collects information, it sends to the data plane, and data plane will check which device has sent this information, and it sends it to the control plane based on the policies configured, or whenever it receives a new packet. uh, Usually we used to configure a policy like whenever you receive a packet from a new equipment, then you just lift it, you forward it to the control plane, and control plane will inspect the MAC address, and based on the configuration it has, it will decide whether to further allow the packets from that particular device or deny the packets. That policy can then be configured by the data center. The control plane will can do that logic. So there is a temperature sensor here, sends the data to the control plane, and that is the IoT application. So control plane decides like in control plane there can be a logic like if there is any data that is coming from this particular class of device, which is a temperature sensor, then you forward that to the IoT application which is running here. Say for example, IoT app 1. So it sends the control plane will send that particular packet to this IoT application. The IoT application will in turn have a logic that when I receive an notification from my temperature sensor, then switch on the AC. For example, if my room temperature, I will configure my temperature sensor saying like if the room temperature goes above 20, then send me a notification. So temperature sensor sends a notification if it's too hot. It's too hot, the information is sent to the IoT application. The IoT application has a logic in place that whenever you receive a notification, switch on the AC. The AC is again a smart AC. So that this is one very small example. So there are other examples or other applications of this SDN enabled IoT gateway. So SDN for IoT, data plane management. As I already said, this is for the data path. It isolates the IoT traffic from a specific device and observe the flow control. So the IoT, there are say fridge, smart bulb, smart temperature. There are a number of devices connected to your IoT gateway. So when there is SDN enabled, then the control plane can implement a logic, put a policy in the data plane inside the gateway, saying when you receive data from this particular device, that is a fridge, a smart fridge, say for example, then you don't process that data, just drop it. You can inform the gateway, you can put a policy on the gateway saying that you allow this traffic from this particular smart device or deny this traffic from this particular device. Also, if you want to observe some traffic flow, then you can also monitor or observe the traffic flow on the data plane on the IoT gateway. So that's what is access control. Allow only those devices that can interact with the gateway. Traffic engineering capability of SDN. So because it has the monitoring and policy control features, it can do traffic engineering through policies. It's all about the configuration. For example, you imagine a configuration file which has a MAC address of the source MAC address of the device which you want to allow, and source MAC address of the gateway which needs to process this particular MAC. So you can have the same configuration file and you can upload it on different gateways. For example, you have an IoT gateway A, IoT gateway B, IoT gateway C, and you have device 1, 2 connected to A, 3, 4 connected to B, 5, 6 connected to C. You can have a single configuration file mapping the gateway and the device information, and you can load that configuration file in all the IoT gateways. So when there are multiple sensors, when it receives packets from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the sensors, then gateway A will process only the packets that are received from 1 and 2, which are mapped in the configuration file. So that is what is done by the traffic engineering capability of SDN. Security policy distribution. Yes, this is again, it covers the same thing. It's a policy distribution. Using a policy file or configuration file, you can decide what needs to be processed and what need not to be processed or what can be denied. So yes, with that I finish this, and if you have any questions.
Ma'am,
Yep.
some questions are posted in a chat box. One of the question is, what is data plane? It is like a router asked by Dr. Syed Abraham.
So what is a data plane is that any device, embedded device, will have both network and data plane. Data plane is the high speed traffic forwarding plane. It's like you have the hardware, and above the hardware will actually map the ports. In the hardware, you can tell the traffic coming on this port has to be forwarded to another port. You can say that at the hardware level, and on top of that you have the software functions which will have multiple services mapped to the same port. So the data plane is one which is closely associated with the hardware. Control plane is the services which are running above the data plane.
Okay, ma'am. Next question is, from where the cloud get the information in SDN embedded? Asked by Hevali.
Cloud gets the information from the gateway or the device which is connected to the IoT sensors. IoT sensors are connected to the gateway. Sensors send the data to the gateway, and gateway send it to the cloud. So how gateway communicates with the cloud is using a wired Ethernet connection, like how you buy modems from for modems or SIM cards. You can now transfer data to the internet using a 4G or 3G or 5G. So using that technology, the gateway will send data to the cloud.
Thank you, ma'am. Another question is, can you tell me some of the software list for virtualization?
Software list for virtualization. You can actually browse. There are so many open source softwares available. I can actually send the list if you want. If you can share me your email ID, so I can send the list to you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Good.
Participant, we will get the list from resource person and we will forward it to your mail ID. Madam, next question. For secure communication between IoT devices, which one best, SDN or blockchain?
Both of them will need security policies in place. They don't have an in-house security systems. So you need to implement
Okay, thank
security on
you.
top of it.
Okay, ma'am. And another question posted by Pradeep Reddy. Can you please discuss about opportunities in industry in India and abroad?
Sorry, can you come again? Sorry.
Can you please discuss about opportunities in industry in India and abroad?
Well, IoT is becoming a trend now, and there are many number of IoT devices in market. So there are plenty of opportunities that are coming up in the IoT industry. But we have to keep ourselves updated with the technologies that are coming up. Uh, so if we are updated with the technologies and with the recent improvements in IoT, then yes, of course, there are plenty of opportunities available, both in India and abroad. You can also,
Okay, ma'am.
if you want to learn IoT, I would suggest like you learn IoT plus also you focus on cloud technologies as well, because they go hand in hand. When someone is expecting your IoT proficiency, they will also expect that you know more about cloud. So good lot of certifications are available. So doing some certifications.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear
Ah,
me?
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Next question is, what is embedded virtualization?
Embedded virtualization is, again, as I said, like embedded devices have memory and resource constraints when compared to the real-time servers that are deployed in the cloud. So virtualization plays a major role in the embedded devices. Embedded devices is the routers. Assume your home router that you have inside your home. That is an embedded device. Any device with a piece of silicon on it and a software deployed on it. So, as I said previously, the control, the services, and the data path, both of them were in the embedded system. So it was not scalable. When a developer has to write a different service, uh, for example, you have to give a fancy web page for your end user. Then, when a developer goes and enters the code and builds the image, and when he or she loads it on the system, then there are a lot of constraints there. Sometimes it will not be scalable. The system itself will not support it says like, okay, memory corrupted, memory is not available. So we have to be very conscious about the memory of the software that we are developing. But because this virtualization is in place, the services that we develop go to the data center, that it goes to the cloud. So when the embedded device wants to fetch some information, wants to provide a web page to the end user, now this embedded device will contact the cloud and say, and put forth a request saying like, okay, I need to serve a particular web page to the end user. End user is requesting for a web page, and the cloud will then in turn send the web page to the gateway, and the gateway will forward it to the end user. That way, the embedded system need not to maintain the web page inside its system, which will consume memory and space. That is embedded virtualization. That's why embedded virtualization is used.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
The services.
Next question.
Okay.
What are the major key roles of IoT in 5G communication?
Key roles of IoT, I would say like 5G is used for IoT rather than IoT in 5G. All these technologies, all these protocols enable IoT devices to communicate with each other. They can communicate even more faster. And as I said, like it is useful for easy resource management.
Okay, ma'am. The next question is, what are security and privacy issues in IoT?
Yeah, there are a lot of security issues with IoT. The pairing, you have some devices in your home and someone else has devices in other home. The data should not, because they are using the same protocol, the data should not interfere with each other. The interference should be avoided, and someone in your neighboring house may try to hack your system, uh, because it's sometimes it's broadcasting data, and it is if it is a Z-Wave or ZigBee protocol inside your house, the neighboring house will also have the same protocol. They can easily take a Wireshark. If it is not encrypted, mostly it is all encrypted, but an expert hacker may try to decrypt the information because it follows a specific protocol. So security has to be, more security policies has to be implemented. There are security issues, and the different technologies keep evolving because in order to address these security issues in the IoT devices.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Next one, how far IoT going to have impact on Industry 4.0?
IoT devices, as I said earlier, it's becoming a trend these days, and the IoT devices are already popular in the market, at least in the Europe and US markets. Slowly it will also come across the Asian market also. So as the demand for these IoT devices increase, and the IoT devices go online, then the network infrastructure should also be enhanced in order to support them. So yes, there is demand for this IoT in the industry, and it keeps
Okay,
growing.
ma'am. And another question is, please suggest any book or website for this.
The book, I would suggest to follow the protocol standards, and you can also, for SDN, you can go to the Open Daylight. There are some projects, open source projects, which you can register, and you can follow. Open Flow Controller is one open source project which you can, it's a forum, you can register. And Open Daylight, you can register on that. And yeah, these are some of the things. And even in some of the Cisco pages or in Cisco forums, you can go and you can keep learning about the new technologies that are coming. And Juniper, the other networking companies also post the recent latest developments of network virtualization.
Okay, ma'am. Another question is, Which language used to work with IoT?
Which languages? You can actually use any language, C++ or Python. Python is nowadays Python is becoming a trend with IoT, because it's having with Python we can achieve fast response, and some people use Java also, but Java is mainly used when you need a fancy front end, and you want to have more data storage. .NET is used if when there are more of data connectivity, but mostly in the telecommunication sector and communication sector, it is C++ and Python from what I have seen.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Uh, if preference, like another question, if preference for embedded virtualization in IoT, then where could be the edge computing happens?
Edge computing happens at the edge of the network, as I said. The intelligence nowadays, more and more edge computing is happening than the cloud will also reside. I mean, embedded virtualization and edge computing go hand in hand. The major it depends upon the capex and opex cost, as I said earlier, depending upon the purpose the customer want to achieve, depending upon the data they want to send to the cloud or they want to process, which will they will decide whether they would go for embedded virtualization, like just having a dumb device, just not dumb device, device with minimal functionality at the edge. Depends upon the customer on what he wants to, what is the requirements of him, what will reduce his cost. Sometimes embedded virtualization or having a dumb device at the will reduce his cost. Sometimes having an intelligent device will reduce his cost. More than reducing the cost, there are some safety critical systems that need data to be processed in the edge, because it will take a long time for the information to reach the cloud. An earthquake detection system or a smoke detection system, these should have low latency. So, for example, marine navigation, marine technology is there. You're go People who are sailing in the boat, they have satellite communication and they have an device on their boat or ship. The ships, with ships, they will travel long distance. So when they want to kind of give an emergency notification, say the ship signal system is not working, if we are not processing the data in the edge, instead of processing that at the edge, if you are sending it to the cloud, that is a mistake, because it's going to take a long time to reach the cloud. So that particular logic has to be processed in the edge. So the device is going to be inside the ship, and it can communicate the emergency notification over the satellite. So it depends upon what the customers want to achieve, and the purpose of the system, whether it is emergency system or it is just a light or bulb, uh, for which I don't mind even if it takes 2 minutes. So it depends upon the purpose.
Okay, ma'am. I think it's the last question. How often will the policies be sent from control plane to data plane?
How often is usually during initialization. Usually the service provider will do it only during initialization, or uh, say for example, I am a service provider. I have deployed some gateway networks in some residential house. So during initialization, I have an access control list. I can allow or deny some equipments, but sometimes the customer, the end user, will want to add more devices. So I go to the cloud, I log into the page, and I say like, okay, add some device X to the access control list, which means like block this device X. In that case, the control plane will immediately send another policy to the data plane, to the embedded device, saying like, okay, apply this policy. So it depends upon how the end user is reacting, what the end user wants. If he wants to add policies, control plane will add the policy. Also, if
Okay,
any
thank you,
network
ma'am.
support changes, then different policy will be applied.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Now it's time for a vote of thanks. I request Ms. Monisha, Assistant Professor working in Department of Computer Science and Engineering, LIT, to deliver vote of thanks.
Good morning, all. On behalf of Lila Institute of Technology, I take this opportunity to propose word of thanks to those who have directly and indirectly contributed to this webinar on network virtualization for IoT, organized by departments, CSE and IT. At the outset, I thank our chief guest and resource person, Ms. Abhirami. We are really enlightened with our knowledge. With your knowledge, we are thankful to our management and principal for their motivation. Also, I would like to thank our HODs, Bhuneshwari ma'am and Diana ma'am, for the enthusiastic support. A special thanks to the organizing community for their unflinching support and coordination. Our heartfelt thanks to also our participants for active participation. With these warm words, we move on to the end of today's webinar. Thank you.
Good. Dear participants, so once you completed the feedback form, you can leave the meeting.
Thank
Thank you
all.
so much.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much, Abhirami madam. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.